Hey, listeners, what's going on? This is Nick with the Age of Reason podcast. We are here with a special edition. Myself, Mike, we are going to be talking about something very near and dear to his heart, something that happened to his wife today, something that incensed him, made him call me in the middle of the day. I was just sitting here being calm, being polite to myself and others, and this rageaholic called me, completely incensed, about to crash his car and kill someone because someone affronted his dear wife with something quite heinous. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Are you calm now?
No,
No?
no, I am not.
Can you tell the listeners in 20 words or less? Nah, fuck it. No restrictions.
Yeah,
Tell the listeners what happened today, man, because I'm kind of pissed too. I was just trying to be calm right now.
yeah. So, all right. Long story short, I'm at work and I'm talking to a few people who I talk politics with or on the same page as us, left leaning. One of them's an atheist, the other one's not. But sitting there talking to them, and we're talking about birth control and a woman's right to choose and healthcare. We're having this conversation. Now I can't tell anybody what my wife does for a living, but she works in the medical field, and I'll leave it at that. So she calls me. I answer the phone, and she tells me that she just went off on a doctor. And I'm thinking to myself, she's calling me because for some reason she lost her shit and she thinks she's about to get like terminated and she's letting me know. That was my first thing. Is when she first started telling me what I'm about to tell you guys. I thought it was work related. So she goes on to say, I just
Wait.
what?
For ease of our listeners here, is your wife okay with us knowing her name, or can we make one
Oh,
up for her?
I've said Lindsay on the show many times.
Okay, so Lindsay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So so she continues and she says, I just lost my shit on a doctor right now because I called to get my birth control prescription refilled, which apparently runs out this weekend. And she was told that the assistant physician that used to work there used to handle all the prescription refills, and he's no longer there. And apparently, this guy for the last year has been refilling her birth control prescription. Now that he's no longer there, she was told that the head physician is Catholic, and for that reason, she has been cut off.
Now, was this a Catholic clinic?
Yeah. Come to find out, we have quite a bit here. And actually, I'm being poked in the side and being told it's actually not a Catholic clinic. But I can attest to the fact that we do have quite a bit here. I did some calling around, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So this was not a Catholic clinic, but a Catholic doctor.
So no crucifixes on the walls, no candles burning to the saints in the corners. None of that. I'm assuming that's what happens at a Catholic hospital or clinic, because that's what happens at church.
I think what's completely ridiculous is even after you're done paying your bill, they pass you the collection plate. That's what she told me. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I
Well,
guess
that's very Catholic.
that is extremely
and they make you
Catholic.
feel guilty for your own diseases.
Exactly. Should have prayed it away. Probably shouldn't have been a bad person. You brought this on yourself.
You're having menstrual cramps. Well, you shouldn't have been a woman.
Yeah, exactly. Damn you. So, yeah, basically, no, actually, there were no signs that this was a Catholic doctor's office. This was a complete surprise to her. She was doing a routine, hey, fill my prescription, gonna go pick it up this week, and that's what happened. Come to find out a little bit later, she had called and left a message before having this conversation. So a little while later, they were returning messages, and the same lady called Lindsay back. And she found out that it was her and that they already had the discussion. And she said that he is well with the doctor. We're not going to release his name yet. We'll leave it at that. But the doctor there is well within his religious rights and does not have to support Lindsay's lifestyle. So, didn't make Lindsay feel too good. Obviously, I would think as a woman that that's a very roundabout way of calling you a whore. And, Lindsay and I have been together since high school, and we're in our 30s now. We've been together a long time, and no kids by choice, for that matter. So,
Now, in the interest of being fair, because I like to be fair to everybody, Lindsay, are you a whore?
she is shaking her head no, but she is totally lying. She is mine.
Okay.
She's
Okay.
a whore for me, which is how it's
Oh,
supposed to
well.
be. The lady in the streets freaking the bed. She's a big fan of Ludacris.
Oh, okay. Okay. It's okay to laugh, girl. Come on, you can make noise. It's fine.
Yeah, she's sitting right beside me, which is not normal. She's usually not in here for recordings, but with this emergency podcast episode, we told everybody we were going to be off this week, but because this is pretty much sprung up an episode strictly because of her, she wanted to listen in, so she is sitting here.
Yeah, nothing about this podcast is normal. By the way, if you happen to hear police sirens, shootings, or the ice cream man in the background on my recording, I apologize, but I am in Salinas, and for some reason that happens every night around this time.
Perfect. So yeah, that's the whole story. So I know you looked into a few things. This kind of spawned us to do some spontaneous research on a few things. You want to go first with some of the stuff you got?
Well, I looked at it from two kind of angles here at the beginning. I got the Hippocratic Oath. I'm thinking, well, can a doctor just say like I'm not going to provide contraceptive services for this person, and does that violate the Hippocratic Oath? It doesn't really. If you read the Hippocratic Oath, it's actually something we should break down in a future episode, talking about how the physicians actually take an oath to walk in the steps of science and all this stuff. But it doesn't directly violate the Hippocratic Oath to deny somebody contraceptives unless the case could be made like Lindsay's life was in danger or something. Like, so there was something about that pill that improved her well-being. Um, Now, when you look at the Catholics and what they've put out, the Catholic Church has put out, they have something called the Ethical Religious Directives for Catholic Healthcare Services. And according to the latest edition of that, it says the church cannot approve contraceptive interventions that either in anticipation of the marital act, basically knowing that we're going to do it, or in its accomplishment thereof, hooray, we had sex.
Which is the money shot, right?
Yeah. And well, inside, no shot. You don't
shot.
get the picture. Yeah.
We talked about
you,
this.
You can't spill. Yeah. So whether it's before or after the accomplishment of the development of its natural courses or consent consequences, basically a pregnancy has happened. Basically, it's saying that you can't provide anything to stop the natural consequences of getting it on.
Okay.
So you can't.
I like how they refer to it as consequences.
Yeah, it's the natural consequences. So you can't prevent the natural consequences, and you cannot eliminate the natural consequences.
I love how they claim to care that much about unborn children, yet they refer to it as consequences. Now, also in this statement, they refer to sex as the marital act and the
well, you can't have sex before marriage. You can't have sex before. That's just
I don't know. I find it very childish that they. I mean, I don't want them to say. I don't expect Pope Francis to come out and be like, before you fuck, you must put a ring on it. But I mean, like, they don't even use the word sex. They don't even use the word intercourse on there.
Pope Francis is a pretty cool guy, you got to admit. I mean, maybe he would. Maybe he might come out one day and be like, before you put it in, Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
In the next paragraph, though, it's kind of interesting. It says, with the advance of the biological and medical sciences, society has at its disposal new technologies for responding to the problem of infertility. While we rejoice in the potential for any good inherent in many of these technologies, we cannot assume that what is technically possible is always morally right. So they don't want to stop any pregnancies, and they're almost not okay with creating them either.
Right.
So if you're infertile, that was God's plan.
Yeah.
So now we have a better footing on this situation here. So the doctor looked at this request for a prescription for birth control and said, "I cannot prevent the make of the baby." So they had to deny.
Well, here's the scary thing. So that is the mandate for Catholic organizations, healthcare organizations, and when we were talking earlier, I asked, do you think this is kind of a slow-moving coup that nobody's really talking about? So I looked up a few numbers here. The Catholic Church is the largest non-governmental healthcare provider in the world. They have 18,000 clinics, 16,000 homes for the elderly, and 65% of their 5,500 hospitals are located in developed countries. This makes the Catholic Church the provider to 26% of the world's healthcare facilities. Yeah, that's a little scary. And when I went calling around today to find a new doctor, because my wife in ultimate web fashion told them to go fuck themselves, and she's never stepping foot in their facility again. When I was calling around looking for another primary physician to go to, the first two places I called were Catholic networks, and I was told, and I told them why we were looking, and I asked if this was a problem that we could possibly run into, and they said they could write you a prescription, and I said could, and that's all I got. The second one was the same thing. No, we don't believe in birth control. Well, I don't believe in you inserting your fucking religion into my healthcare, but I guess we're both going to have to wait. So I eventually did find one place that was appalled at this and actually said until we require them to use contraception, they shouldn't be able to say shit to us. So needless to say, we'll be signing up with that primary care physician.
Right. When I called for you, I actually was telling Lindsay that I spoke to a nurse who told me that this is all perfectly legal, that they deny her the prescription, and that not only was it legal, she was saying, "Well, what was this doctor's name?" And I threw the name out there, and she says, "Was he writing prescriptions for this before?"
Oh, jeez.
And then she goes, "Hang on," and she gets puts me on hold, and I'm like, "Oh shit."
We got him in trouble.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I don't know what's gonna come of that. Or they may not even be in the same network. Who knows?
Well, we might have a controversy on I was hoping there'd be a controversy on our side. There might be one on theirs. He might be excommunicated. Who knows? Because apparently the assistant that he had filling these prescriptions, I mean, Lindsay's been getting her prescriptions from here for a year with no issue.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, it could be a scandal within the Catholics.
Well, so I think that this boils down to again the conversation on religious freedoms here, and I know the Supreme Court is taking up the case against the bakers that refuse to make a wedding cake.
Yeah,
for the
we're
gay
still
couple.
not done with gay cake yet. This has been going on for years.
Right, but this is almost in the same vein of gay cake.
Yeah.
This is, so if you're a private business but you serve the public, should you have to serve anyone that comes in and wants your services?
If you are open to the public, yes, you should.
So then, by your logic, if you are a healthcare facility, you should provide all forms of healthcare to individuals.
Correct.
To the public.
According to state and federal statutes, of course. And real quick, I was going to say real quick before I forget, the second place that we contacted said that they would give Lindsay birth control if she submitted herself to a consultation and proved to them that it was not for preventative care. It was strictly for health-related reasons. So it's like you got to go through an inspection. You know, the fucked up part about this thing is this is a Republican deal as well. The religious freedom. The only reason they're able to do this, and the only real concrete evidence that they even have a choice for this that you and I found was the Hobby Lobby case, followed up by the Chick-fil-A case, where Mike Pence, our current vice president, put forth the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Indiana that all these other red states have been jumping on. And, you know, one of the things Lindsay told me a long time ago is it's almost like with Republicans, they only care about you until you're born. They want to cut all your funding, as we discussed about healthcare last week. They want to cut the shit out of Medicaid, which provides 60% of every child that's born in this country is covered by Medicaid, and they don't give a shit. They cut all government support, and they don't want to help you once you're born. Up until that point, you're the most precious thing on earth. Well, not
so
quite.
Why do you think that is? Why would an organization? Why do you think that is? Why would you want to? Why would, as an organization, would you want people to have as many babies as possible?
I don't think they want people to have as many babies as possible. If we wanted to get into some sort of zeitgeist, kind of like ultra conspiracy theory, every rich right man's going to need slaves. But I would say it's not really about that. I don't think it's about, and maybe there's an angle I'm not thinking of. I don't think it's about having as many kids as we possibly can. It's more about women being property and belonging to a man. Because if you think about it, the GOP, the Catholic Church, the Christian white ringers, all that shit, they all read from a book that basically says that women were evil to begin with. The only reason we even know what pain is and know what it is when we're nude is because Eve, the evil bitch, took a bite out of the fucking apple. It's all her fault.
Well, she was Adam's second wife, so, you know.
Yeah, you know what? I was just thinking about that. You mind enlightening everybody as to why you just said that Eve was Adam's second wife?
Well, I'll have to pull more stuff together if you want like a lengthy conversation
just give the short,
on it. But
short version.
But originally, according to Jewish texts, Adam's wife was Lilith. God created both of them at the same time, and both of them were equals. And apparently, Lilith started to, I guess, get too big for her britches.
Started nagging Adam. He wasn't doing the dishes.
Yeah, she offended basically Adam, and she wanted to be more powerful than him, so she was cast away. And then God, instead of making another woman out of nothing like he did with Adam, he removed one of Adam's ribs and made the woman of man. So now a woman cannot exist without a man, and that kind of went in there. There's a lot more to it.
Yeah, we'll have to cover
Lilith becomes like a succubus who like kills babies and eats them and stuff. So, Lindsay's face there, that was priceless.
So this is this was Skeptic Sunday School light, I guess.
But more back to your point about the whole zeitgeist thing. I don't know. Like I go back and forth in my mind as to why, if it's a women issue or if it is like a voter issue or a paid slavery issue. I'm not sure what it is, because it seems like there's a large portion of people in the United States that want every baby to be born, and then they don't care what happens to the baby afterward.
Right.
And those babies grow up to be what? I mean, if you're an unwanted pregnancy and you're born into a lower economic rung of the ladder, what are your options?
Well, we've talked about this a lot. I mean, and that's when they sell you the American dream, which is a complete fucking lie, which is all you got to do is work hard. Or in Ben Carson, in his words, being poor is a state of mind. And
right.
His state of mind is fucking comatose on a regular basis. He's sleepy. But I mean, that's when they sell you on the lie. And then, unfortunately, they end up getting people of color like Marco Rubio and, Ben Carson and people that that did grow up poor, that did find a way out, and then they go out and speak on the behalf of these fucking morons who actually grew up having everything handed to them. So, I mean, Donald Trump being the prime example. So, I mean, overall, the main issue here is, this is the first time. I mean, we talk about gay rights, we talk about racism as it refers to unarmed black men getting shot. We also support law enforcement. We talk about terrorism. We as atheists have stuck up for even Muslims who are kind of getting bullied by every other religion. And, we stand against Trump's Muslim ban and all this other shit. But you know what? The three of us, me, you, and Alex, we're not Muslim. We're not gay. We're not women. And that's another group that we talk a lot about. And this is the first time that one of these bullshit policies has actually affected the straight white couple. And that I will not fucking stand for, goddammit.
Oh, first world problems.
Yeah, I know, exactly. But I mean, still, in a way, it's, Lindsay and I have always argued because she loves the deals and the decor at Hobby Lobby. And I'm like, bet I don't got to tell you not to go there anymore.
Oh, man. No.
There's way too much Jesus in that goddamn store.
They're building one in my local town, and I tell you what, it's just another place I can't go.
Yeah.
I already get all over people about going to In-N-Out Burger because it's just.
Alex and I have a deal with In-N-Out. We just don't look under the cup.
Yeah, so you're both hypocrites. Anyway, that's the same thing as people will be like, well, you can eat at Chick-fil-A, but you just ignore the whole thing. No, I'm not giving them any of my money.
Yeah, take a stand, you fucks.
See, here's the scary thing though. Big picture is, Catholic healthcare organizations are acquiring more and more hospitals and medical facilities, rehab facilities, old folks' homes. This has been increasing steadily over the past bunch of years to where now 1 in every 6 Americans gets their healthcare from a Catholic organization. Now, when that starts to get higher, this is going to become problematic because I would settle for a compromise, and I know that they probably won't. And that's another thing to the argument is that they never want a compromise. But if you live in a place where the only health clinic you have or the only hospital you have, way out in the middle of nowhere is Catholic, maybe they can say, no, I don't want to give you an abortion, or no, I don't want to prescribe the pill for you. But since we are the only game in town, here's where you can find somebody else that will.
But if they
now, right now, they don't have to do that, and they won't.
Well,
they won't.
I was thinking about this earlier. The compromise I thought you were going to say is what I was thinking of is basically there should be a mandate, which is not going to happen under this administration, but there should be a mandate on a hospital, like a ratio of hospitals that provide all care that's legal within your state and federal. It should be a 2-to-1 ratio. They should not be able to buy out because the other thing you haven't mentioned yet is it's 8 out of the top 10 nonprofit health organizations are all Catholic owned.
Yeah.
So I mean, basically we risk getting to a point, and we're kind of like that here, where when I was calling around looking for a new doctor to get with, they're all part of the same Catholic organization. So there should be a mandate that that gives this shit a ratio where you can have your fucking pray the illness away type of clinic as long as there's 2 other clinics within a 5-mile radius that offer everything else, like science. Right. And that's another thing that scares me is, we have 8 out of 10. We have 1 in 6 Americans that are receiving their health care from Catholics, and doctors are scientists. And that's what we're dealing with.
They're supposed to be.
They're supposed to be. And the thing is I'm sure there are some doctors out there that are not Catholic that work for some of these organizations that have their hands tied.
Right. Oh, absolutely. That's that's going to be something that we as voters have to think about going forward. Um, what do we want our society to be like? Because I've been speaking to a Russian guy that I happen to meet down here who happens to be a doctor over in Russia, and um, really interesting viewpoints. Like I'm not trying to fault him or anything because things are different everywhere, but you know when we talk about like differences between the countries, they're proud of the fact that they don't like homosexuals over there.
Right.
They're proud of it because they think it corrupts young people.
And
They think it's a corrupting
was
influence.
it one of the leaders in Uganda just came out and flat said, I think it was last year, we don't have homosexuals here.
Right. Well, and also because we had talked about issues, he had said that no, abortion's not widely available either, and people are happy about that because a child is a miracle, a child is a gift. First of all, I take issue with that. A child is not a miracle. A child is not a miracle.
Yeah,
When
it's
they
not
can
like it
refer to it as
happens.
the consequences of a marital act, it's not a miracle.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's not like it happens one in a million shot. It's not the fucking Handmaid's Tale, right? So I mean,
Well,
it's not a miracle at all.
yeah, I mean, you're not sitting there one day eating a bag of chips and all of a sudden Lindsay goes, "Oh my God, I'm pregnant."
No, honey, that's just the chili.
It's a miracle.
So
Yeah.
to get a little bit back to birth control here, I was reading up on a study that was done, and a study that came out beyond birth control, the overlooked benefits of oral contraceptive pills. This was a study put out by Rachel K. Jones from Guttmacher Institute. And basically, what she found was that more than half, 58%, of all pill users that use oral contraception as their method, they're at least partially using it for the purpose of health, not just pregnancy prevention. Meaning that only 42% of women who are on the pill are using it strictly to prevent. And Lindsay was telling this person that she was speaking with earlier from this from this doctor's office that if I had a different pill that would do these things and not prevent pregnancy, I'd be taking them. And to me, this is it pisses me off, and it also just surprises me how much we're willing to tell women what they can do with their bodies, whether it's abortion or anything else. But I mean,
So what health benefit does it provide for her then that she can't get through something else?
I don't know if she's willing to get into that.
Just curious.
That's it's a little too much for her, but I would assume that it's the same with most women. So so I'm sure some of our listeners out there, it makes their monthly train ride a little less bumpy, a little easier.
Well, see, then of course Catholics wouldn't want you to have that an easing of that because that's the punishment.
Yes, that is the punishment. This is, and
Right.
one of the things that I never understood, and
And I've heard from people that it gives you like it can like ease headaches and stuff like that
yes,
too. So so
it
obviously there are
regulates
four
your
headaches.
it regulates your period, so
Yeah.
you can plan on it basically down to the wire there. But that's another thing I like pointing out to people when I'm having religious arguments is Jesus, when Jesus was crucified and died on the cross, his dying for sins were retroactive. So anybody that committed a sin prior to Jesus dying was forgiven, and it was up to everybody else from then on to lead a life of walk the path of righteousness and all that bullshit.
Wait. I've been told that Jesus died for my sins.
No, my sins.
No, but I'm saying that if they're retroactive and they don't count in the future, then Jesus didn't die for my sins.
No,
I am not going to be a Christian.
He died. He died to forgive everybody retroactively that took place before him. All sins prior to him were forgiven, and all people that had died as sinners were forgiven. and moving forward, this was, the time of faith and all that bullshit. But my point is,
So are you saying those guys with signs that yell at me before I go into a concert are lying when they say Jesus died for my sins?
are you talking about Westboro?
I
They're
don't want
on
to give
a
a
whole
shout
other
out to the
level.
group. There's actually 3 or 4 of those groups in California.
So anyway, my point is if Jesus died retroactively to forgive everybody that happened before him, forgive their sins, why wasn't Eve forgiven? Why do women still suffer for childbirth? And their periods are a monthly reminder of that original sin.
Well, but that's the thing. Haven't you ever read the Gospels and seen how Jesus treated women? I mean, when one of them came up to him and said, Lord, take away my menstrual cramps, he said, bitch, please, and he kept walking. So
Jesus was a pimp.
like he kept Mary Magdalene around because,
He had an entourage. He had all these. It was a sausage fest in there.
Lady by the well, a little bit of foot washing, a little bit of, she's a naughty girl. Anyway.
So I did some other numbers. Let me get through the rest of them and then we can discuss here. So these numbers were taken off of Google Statistics and the Guttmacher Institute and Fox News actually provided some of these sources that I'm about to go through. But right now, there are 70,412,021 registered Catholics in the United States. So that's about 22% of the U.S. population as of 2017. And this is according to the American Bishops' Count in their official Catholic directory from 2016. So now that we know how many Catholics are here, let's look at a few state statistics. So just to give some context here, the teen birth average in the United States is 22.3 per thousand. So let's look at Mississippi. Mississippi is third for teen pregnancy with 34.8. They have an STD, a sexually transmitted disease transfer rate of second in the country.
Well, the solution to that is just to tell those teens to stop fucking.
Their sister.
Well, I mean, that's how we do it. We go to Africa and we tell them, stop.
Abstinence is the way.
And then AIDS just stops.
Yeah, because I know my dick listened to me when I was in my teens. It didn't control my life. It didn't know me.
If yours didn't know the basic commands, sit, stay, lay down, and come. I don't know what you were doing with your life.
So, next up on the list, we have Texas. And I just happened to come across this statistic, so I included it. 35% of women throughout their childbearing years in the state of Texas are uninsured, even through Obamacare, due to Ted Cruz and Rick Perry and all those fuckers trying to block it. Just throwing that in there. But they have a teen pregnancy rate of 5th in the country at 34.6 per thousand. And they are 8th for STD transmissions.
You hear that, Texas? You need to cover it up.
Hey, all of our Texas listeners, please come on and talk about. If you got chlamydia from somebody, we want you on this show. Give us a call. So next up, we have Oklahoma. Teen pregnancy rate is tied with Texas for 5th place at 34.8, and they're in the middle of U.S. with STDs. However, I couldn't find any state rankings on this, but I found 2 different websites that listed them as incest is common. So while they may be in the middle ground for states, they do tend to keep it all in the family. Sorry, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There's no actual data on this, but there are. I found 2
my apologies to our listeners in Oklahoma who just heard Mike call them cousin fuckers.
I didn't call all. If you're not fucking your cousin, I'm not calling you a cousin fucker.
Well, yeah, okay, all right. I suppose if there's only 10 cousin fuckers and they all happen to be in that state, then we can say that they are the cousin fucker state. But I'm sure that happens in other places. The bottom line of all of this is what I think you're getting at is that we've got red states who make it difficult for people to get access to contraception.
Yep.
They probably do not have sex education or sexual reproduction classes, or they're probably hindering them, or they're doing something like, today we will learn how far the stork flies to deliver your baby. You know, they child proof it somehow. Um, so that's probably happening there. And I guess what you're saying is it's not working.
No, and actually, the next story here is actually about my new home state of Colorado. So this is taken from Snopes as a source here, and they rated this as mostly true. That the state of Colorado's long-acting reversible contraceptive, which is the LARC funding initiative, did appear to lead to a large drop in abortion, unintended pregnancy, and millions of dollars saved in healthcare costs. And those drops are quoted at over 40% for both of those things. So over 40% drop in unwanted pregnancy and over 40% drop in abortion. So I kind of just say, take your fucking pick, religious people. Which one do you want? I mean, and I was thinking about this earlier. They act like we enjoy, those of us that are pro-choice. There's a reason we don't say we're pro-abortion, right? They act like we have abortion parties. We look forward to these things. We're pro-choice. Like I doubt there is any woman on this planet who ever enjoyed having an abortion. But if they don't want women to be able to make that choice, they give you no tools. They actually encourage you to not use any method of contraception. I mean, as Alex talked about in Skeptic Sunday School a few weeks ago, you can't pull out, can't use condoms, which is leading to major disease and spreading in Africa because we're preaching that shit over there. And obviously, as we were discussing today, birth control. So
well, and let's get into like a really big high concept here. So maybe ultra religious people have a problem with intimacy. They have a problem with getting physically close to somebody and being with that person in that way,
or
over and over again. Because think about it, if you're only fucking to make a kid, then you don't really know what that act is about.
Right.
You know, are you really having fun with it? Well, you know, you're going into it with a purpose. Like, it's one thing to revenge fuck, because then you're like, yeah, I'm gonna get you. But it's you know, if you're like, we are going to make a child now, you know, it's completely different.
Lay down, Missy.
Honey, lay back and spread your legs and show me your dewy flower. I shall now enter you and rock back and forth rhythmically until I convince my penis to spill its seed into your womb. That doesn't signal like loving, like intimacy to me. You know, look at Mike Pence. Is that man intimate with his wife?
No, but that's what I was gonna say. You said they may have an issue being intimate and getting close to other people on a regular basis. And as you were saying that, I'm thinking of Mike Pence and Ted Cruz and Mitch McConnell.
Think about every conservative person you know.
John McCain. I'm thinking of all these different old white guys that think they just want to grab women by the pussy and tell them what to do with it. I don't think anybody wants to get close and intimate with them, let alone once.
See, you're just going down to personal attacks. I'm saying think about the conservative people.
These guys act.
Think about the conservative people you know. Are they huggers?
No.
You know, when they see something like that, do they make them get a room?
Thinking of my, I'm actually thinking of my in-laws right now, and no, not at all.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. Now, of course, you know, it probably doesn't, you know, apply to every one of them, but you know, you call liberals touchy-feely, call them snowflakes, call them what you want, but you know what? It's been my observations that there is a lot more intimacy, not necessarily in a sexual nature, but even between friends, you know, hanging out, like being able to hug each other goodbye, being able to like sit down next to your friend and like have contact with their leg and not like freak out and shuffle and try to get away from that. You know, just little things like that. It seems like that people are more comfortable being around other people. And I think that also has to, there's a lot of, I have a lot of ideas on this, like cities tend to be more liberal.
Right.
Well, of course, you got millions of people packed in on top of each other. They're all living right next to each other. They have to get along. They have to be able to understand that. They have to understand people. And then you go and you talk to a conservative who lives out on the prairie and his nearest neighbor is an hour away. Of course that guy doesn't want to be around you. you know? If you can live out there like that, no, you don't like people.
No, I see your point, but I also, I mean, they're very uptight. That's how I look. That's, I mean, most conservatives that I can think of, they're very uptight. They are not. You're right. They're not the touchy feely person, which is fine. I'm not a touchy feely guy either, but they're not. I don't know. I couldn't imagine like my best friend, like you or Alex, being Republican and wanting to talk to you about any of my issues, any of them. I would just assume you'd be like,
Well,
get out of here with that queer shit.
it's
That's what I expect.
it's very rare, at least in my experience, it's very rare for me to find a conservative who I can actually have a constructive conversation with. And I'm not even talking about we're going to sit down and solve healthcare, but I'm just saying like any sort of conversation with. I'm always able to find common ground with people so that I can talk to people. But it usually gets to a point when I'm talking to a conservative where I've reached the limit of conversation. Like one guy I know, I could talk to him about football. And once it goes past football, there's nothing for us to talk about because every comment I've ever heard him make scares the absolute shit out of me. So, so as a human being, yeah, I can get along with the guy, but when I sit down to have a conversation with him, no. And I've found a few people in my lifetime where you can sit there and go, "You're crazy, you're nuts. I disagree with you. Let's go get a steak."
Very
You know,
few,
it,
though.
it, very few.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be more difficult as time goes on here because of the partisan nature of how things are going. But we do need to reach out. We do need to try and get touchy feely with these people. Try to get into their comfort zone.
And the Catholics
And
should be totally cool with this. This is right up their fucking alley.
why would they be cool with it? Why would they be cool with being touchy feely and getting all intimate?
They're the ones that are always talking about letting Jesus come inside you and being closer to the Lord and having your own personal relationship. And let us not forget what the Catholic Church is actually famous for. But
Yeah, well, listen. That's a personal relationship with the Lord, and note the word personal. That's between you and the Lord. I don't want to hear about it.
anyway, that's really all I had to discuss today. And I mean, I entertain calling this episode "Get your fucking get your fucking religion out of my healthcare." This is completely fucking ridiculous. This is not something we should have to worry about. This is not something that we should be subjecting people to. I work with the goddamn public. I don't feel like I have the right, and I don't feel like I should have the right to treat anybody differently just because I fucking disagree with them. And again, as atheists, all three of us here, we live in the fucking religious world way more than they live in ours. We don't have a
Right.
word for God bless you. Yet I get their fucking term for it all the goddamn time. Anytime I do something nice, my morals are God-given, so I get told I'm a good Christian man. God bless you. But what's completely fucking ridiculous is this bullshit where they think they can continue telling women what they can do with their fucking body like it's their goddamn business. And let's not forget, I didn't run any fucking numbers for this, but we're talking about Republicans. They're all about the fucking Second Amendment. They're all about defending the over 30,000 people that die every fucking year. They're all about taking away healthcare. 22 million people in the next 10 years, if this bill goes through, and it probably will, kicking 22 million people off of healthcare. They don't give a fuck about you. They prove it in their bills. They prove it in the way they talk. And even more nowadays, they don't hide this shit anymore. There is no hiding whatsoever. The whole point about them coming out and saying Obamacare was shoved down our throats. No. There was a shit ton of Republican bills that were added to that, including taking out the single payer option. They took out so much bullshit, and we had several hearings before Obamacare was shoved down our throats. This is bullshit.
Yeah, I specifically remember the tabletop meeting with Obama sitting there next to Mitch McConnell, and you had the Republicans on one side and the Democrats on the other, and they all sat there and they went over the bill and they talked about what they wanted inside of it, each party, and I specifically remember seeing that, and I haven't seen any of that from the Republicans, and of course we're not going to see it because they learned their lesson with the House bill. They let it, leak out a little bit. Everyone freaked out, got pissed off. Nobody would vote for it. And lo and behold, guess what happened with the Senate bill? They don't have the votes again. It's far from done, and I'm fully convinced that the turtle is going to go out there and talk people into voting for it. I I hope not. I hope that there are some senators out there that will just finally stand up to this. But um, I'm fully expecting it to pass. I'm expecting to lose my health care because I depend on Medicaid right now as a student. I fully expect, and I need it. I need my health care.
And all they have to say is you should have worked harder. You should have made better life choices, Nick. You wouldn't be in this position.
I've been working, I worked from 1994 to 2014 full time. I paid into the system, and just when I need it the most, they want to take it away. You know?
Yeah, huge. I was going through looking for a news story that I had on my Facebook feed from 2015, and I was reminded that you actually went in for surgery in that same year, or 2014.
2014. Yeah. That's why I stopped working.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, and that wasn't even really my choice. I went to my boss at the time and I said, "Hey, my cardiologist says, yeah, you need to have heart surgery now. We're scheduling it 2 weeks from now." And he was like, "So you need time off?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I need at least 2 months off." And he's like, "Oh yeah, we can't accommodate that. We're gonna have to let you go."
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
not surprising.
All right. Yeah.
But anyway, so that was the whole reason we wanted to get on here is we did run some numbers over everything that happened today. I can't say it enough. This is complete fucking bullshit. This is not freedom. They're the ones that are always out there saying, get government out of the way. Get government out of our female's fucking vagina. That's the way I look at it. I mean, you see this all the time. The government does not work. Government should not be involved in companies and how they treat their employees. Government should not be involved in your health care. Government should not be telling you how to live your life. They should be completely out of it. Yet, when it comes to religion, when it comes to the unborn, and when it comes to women in general on any fucking issue, they're right there with their hand up the fucking vag every goddamn time.
You know what happens when you take government away from things? People die. The proof is there. The proof is there. Remember the case from Michigan,
right.
where
that
the
was
woman
the story
ended
I was
up
looking for. Yeah.
Yeah, the woman ended up dying because she did not have the proper access to healthcare services that she needed. Um, when we don't have the government there to tell companies that they can't dump their coal shit in the river,
yeah,
people are going to get sick.
On the contrary, we had our government actually tell them they could dump their coal shit in the river.
Well, now we do, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Is that the EPA was founded around the time when I forget which river it was in a major city, but it was on fire.
Yeah,
the water was on fire,
and by Nixon of all people, of all past presidents, the EPA was
well,
put into place by
Republicans
Nixon.
were different back then.
Yeah.
Republicans were different back then. They had more balls.
As we discussed, they still have the balls.
No, they don't. They don't have any balls. They're cowards. They're cowards. They can't stand up and do the thing that's right for America, that they know is right for America. You can't tell me that Mitch McConnell looks at the people of Kentucky and how much it's going to hurt them. I had those numbers up for our last episode of how many people in Kentucky are going to suffer if they get their health care taken away. And let me pull it up here real quick, because I save all my stuff.
Well, I'll talk while you're doing that.
No,
You know.
I've already got. I got it.
Oh,
It
okay,
doesn't
go
keep
ahead.
going. Yeah, 37% of the population of that state is going to be uninsured if the people that are on Medicaid lose their Medicaid.
You know, you would think that when you vote a representative or senator into office, I mean, you're voting for the person that's supposed to have your best interest, and
Right.
totally understand. I mean, as senators and representatives, you cannot, as a politician, please everybody. You're
Well, and remember, about 60% of those people are children.
right. So my point is, though, is you're being represented you're being elected to represent their best interests, and not at one time did Mitch McConnell come out and say, "Hey, all you guys that are voting for Trump that say you don't need Obamacare, you're all on Connect, and just because it's not called Obamacare doesn't mean it's not Obamacare. You guys are actually on the same shit that you want to get rid of." That would
Right.
be in the best interest of your voters.
Right. But you think they're going to do it?
No, of course not. They didn't. He did not. Mitch, I've brought this up before. When the three of us were doing the survey, and me, you, and Alex, and the question came up of who you think the worst politician is current. All three of us said Mitch McConnell. All three.
Yeah.
And we didn't talk to each other beforehand. All three of us said that fucking turtle.
Yeah. And everyone who's listening, I grew up in a blue collar working class family. We were a little bit, we were a little bit on the upper side of middle class. My dad was a police officer, my mom was a nurse. We certainly didn't struggle as much as other people did. My grandpa, he was a worker in a steel mill, and so were both of my uncles, his sons. They struggled. They had a rough time of it, and I struggled a little bit less so because I had two parents who happened to get into professions where my dad had state benefits and they were pretty good, but I still grew up with working class people, and I am a liberal, and there are working class people out there who are voting against their best interests. They're voting against themselves. They are continuing to listen to these people who spread fear and blame all over the place. And they're voting against themselves. And I don't understand it. You're not stupid people. You're not stupid. So what is it that makes you look at a Donald Trump or a Mitch McConnell and say that's the guy for me, when that guy could not give two shits about you and your family?
Yeah,
That guy
he
is perfectly
cannot.
willing to throw your kid and you and your wife off of health care.
Onto the fucking street, and there was that photo of Trump floating around where it was him and his kids. I don't think the wife was there, which isn't surprising, but him and his kids sitting in a living room with like a tiger rug on the ground, and it was like a Christmas photo, and it's like, still think this guy knows what your life is about?
Donald Trump knows nothing about what their life is about. And I'll tell you what, the Republican politicians, there are some out there that can actually say they came up from a working class background, that they know what it's like to struggle. There are some.
Right.
But if you look at a lot of them, they got their Ivy League educations. And that's another thing that bothers me. You hear what I just said? Ivy League education.
Yeah.
There's this pushback on intelligence in this country right now, and you get it from a lot of conservative voters who sit there and say, you take your Ivy League education. They said that about Obama. Take your education, take all your intellectuals, and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because we care about me. You know what? The same people that you're voting for went to those same schools and belonged to those same secret societies, and they were the same. They were there at the same time, jockeying for position, learning to be elitist, learning to be with wealthy people, and learning to suck up and kiss ass and do all of the things that you hate about the other side that you don't like.
Right.
They all come from the same pool.
Let me take a stab at this. You started your rant there with What is it that keeps them this way? I'm gonna say between religion and the Republican Party, I think it has a lot to do with their so-called values. And I think no matter what, for some reason, their religious values, their Republican values, and their American values, because they do still own patriotism, is what leads them to do this, to act this way, to vote this way. And to basically make horrible fucking decisions, as we just saw in the 2016 election, and as we're continuing to see unfold with everything that we fucking, when I was going through Facebook, I'll talk about this because Alex isn't on here, but I'll get yelled at for it later if he listens. When I was going through my Facebook feed, I came across some of those Bernie or bust arguments that I had with people. And I stand by every fucking word. Every fucking word that I said about the whining and the sourness of it. And again, Bernie Sanders supporter, total full fucking board. Bernie Sanders supporter. That was me, and it still is me. But that was definitely me during the competition of that election. But what I will say is, I just remember pointing out the Supreme Court and pointing out healthcare, and all of those things are happening. And I actually saw a point where I was arguing with somebody, and they talked about how they couldn't handle 4 years of Hillary Clinton, and I said, compare that to the first 100 days of Donald Trump, which we've just passed recently, and look at what he has done in just his first 100 days. This is fucking mind-boggling, and
he hasn't done much, but he has done so much.
I think he's done more to damage our image, not only to the world, only to the world, but to ourselves.
He's trying to erase any evidence that Barack Obama was ever the president, and he's kowtowing. He's bowing down. He's a pussy. He's a coward. God, I wish he was listening. Anyway,
and he's drastically overweight.
Yeah.
Did you see the tennis photo that just came out?
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of those pictures of Colonel Man Boob. But no, I'm getting off.
Someone needs to put a poncho on that piece of shit. He should only be able to leave in a fucking poncho, a goddamn moo-moo like Homer Simpson.
I'm getting off topic here. I want to break down these issues that you're talking about, because I want to see it from the conservative standpoint. If you look at like abortion, Roe versus Wade went through, I believe it was in the 70s. Okay, abortion was illegal. Has America imploded? Did we all die in a fiery hellscape?
No, but I'm sure there's plenty of storms and economic crashes and stuff that's going to be attributed to our.
If you're Pat Robertson or the Reverend Jack Van Impe presents, I'm sure. I'm sure you can blame it on that. But realistically, nothing happened. Women didn't get sex crazed, and abortions didn't shoot through the roof, and we just abort babies left and right. Now it's just this culture of like, I'm going to go have an abortion today, and then I'm going to go to the dry cleaner. No, that's not happening. That's not happening. Abortion is still
choice, not pro-abortion.
Right. Abortion is still an issue that causes women a lot of pain and heartache, but it's a decision that they come to, and they're the ones that have to live with it, not the rest of us. It's them that has to live with it. So I don't see why that harms the country. And as far as guns go, nobody has said we're going to take away your guns. No one has ever said that.
Fuck that. Obama started every speech with, ladies and gentlemen, I'm coming for your guns.
Yeah.
Every fucking speech. Those words are just in my head.
Nobody has said they're going to take guns.
No, Hillary Clinton said the same thing. Donald Trump was all over it. He said, just like Obama, Hillary Clinton's coming for your guns.
I know. And why, dear listeners, why Why do conservative voters believe
It
that?
may have to
Why do
do.
some liberal voters and independent voters believe that? Why do they believe that? Right now, I'm hearing gunfire outside because in this city it happens. It has literally happened. I'm not even exaggerating. It has happened 6 nights in a row now.
How long are
And
you
the
staying
second night
there?
it happened, what's that?
How long are you staying there?
For about 3 weeks.
Jesus.
So yeah, so it has happened literally every night. The second night there was automatic gunfire. You can tell the difference. Um, it's those guns are not coming from Mexico. They're not coming from some backwater channel that came from the Eastern Bloc.
Right, they're
You
coming
know,
from Obama because Obama was selling guns in order to push gun violence so he can further his stupid ass liberal agenda.
no, they're coming from places that have lax gun laws. Vice did a great report on this. Michael K. Williams on the Black Market show that Vice has. He went down to Atlanta to talk to some guys who make a living going to gun shows, walking in, buying guns, and they do a hidden camera. They show you how easy it is. You don't need to show ID.
Right.
You don't need to fill out any paperwork. You walk in, you buy a bunch of guns, you go and you sell them to another guy, and then he drives them all the way up to New York or Chicago and sells them on the street for 5 times what you paid.
Yep.
That's where our guns come from. They come from us. They're not coming from some weird place.
And we went over this statistic a long time ago. I made a nice little Excel spreadsheet, and I kind of did the same thing I did today. I compared gun deaths with gun deaths compared to guns in circulation and gun sale prices with red or blue states. And if you scroll down the AOR Facebook page, you'll find this eventually. It's just an Excel spreadsheet. And basically that's what we found once again. It's these red states with high gun sales with the largest amount of gun crime per capita. And for some reason, the scientists on the right, just like climate change, they can't fucking figure this out. They don't seem to make that connection. Remember, did you ever see that? Oh, I mean, it's kind of fitting. Did you ever see the South Park episode where Michael Jackson is getting framed, right? Once again. And the detective is looking at the left hand and the right hand, and the answer to his case is right in front of him, and he's taking forever, and he just can't figure it the fuck out. That's what it seems like when it comes to not just scientists, but thinkers, because there's not a whole lot of them on the right, but just the thinking of the right side. They can't figure it out with climate change, and I'm not trying to segue into that, but they can't figure it out there, and they cannot figure it out with guns, that the places that have the highest gun sales also have the highest gun deaths.
Right.
And the loosest gun laws.
Right. And again, nobody's saying get rid of guns.
No.
Full disclosure.
You're a gun owner.
We're both liberals.
Yes.
Do you have a gun?
Not anymore, but I'm going to go buy a shotgun soon. I sold my guns.
I have guns.
I know you have. Alex has guns.
I have 4. I don't need that many.
I don't know how many Alex had. I had 2 in the house at one time, but I sold them for different reasons. But I'm going to go buy a shotgun soon. I am not anti-gun. I am anti-concealed, and I am anti you carrying a fucking gun for no reason out in public. But home protection and sporting and just going out and fucking and shooting at the target range, whatever, I have no fucking problem with that.
And what does that mean, conservatives? What does that mean? That means that we are not going to push anyone to get rid of their guns if you tighten up gun laws to where people can't just walk into a gun show and plunk down their cash and walk out.
Dude.
If you make them fill out a background check and you maybe do a waiting period, maybe not, I don't know, but you make them at least put it on paper.
Yeah.
And then we actually computerize that paper system. Because right now, do you know that the ATF, when they say, can you track this gun sale for me? They have to go to these file cabinets that are chock full of microfilm.
Yeah, and
microfilm.
It's the records there are kept in kind of the same fashion as we keep our veteran medical records. It's the
Right.
same goddamn thing. But
And our nuclear weapons,
it's
by
funny
the way.
when I've talked to people when I lived in Arizona, and now that I live here, and I know people that own guns, and we get into these conversations, they're just under the impression that, I mean, you got to have a permit to carry a squirt gun in California, and I'm like,
That's not true. No.
I bought 2 pistols in California with no problem whatsoever. Well, you got to take that test. That test is 30 fucking questions and takes 5 minutes, and I did not
Right.
study for it.
Right.
It's
I used to work in a gun store. I used to sell
right.
guns to people. I used to do the paperwork.
Right.
I used to do the training classes. The questions on that paperwork are literally as dumb as, should you point a loaded gun at your face and pull the trigger?
Well, to give you an example, I remember one off the top of my head. First off, it's multiple choice. So,
Right.
when not ready to shoot, should you point the gun A, at the nearest person, B, towards a crowd, C, straight in front of you, or D, where it is likely to cause the least amount of harm if it happens to go off, which could be any direction, up, down. Some people always put down, but no, if you live in a 2-story house or you live in an apartment building, you probably don't want to point it down. I mean, it's so fucking easy. I've taken the test twice for both guns that I bought in California, and then after that, they're like, well, don't you got to wait 6 months to pick your gun up? No, 10 fucking days. 10 days.
Years ago, I bought a brand new Smith & Wesson 4006. In the box came a warning that said, unload gun before cleaning it.
Yeah.
That's in there because someone did that. That's why we need regulations on guns, because not all of us are able to handle them safely.
And let's give the Republicans a bone. If we were to put our worst liberals, worst experience with guns up against the Republicans' worst experience with guns, the Republicans would probably win. This is why more people in the North during the Civil War died than on the Southern side, because they grow up in the country and that sort of thing. But what they need to understand is that this is the meaning of democracy. And when it comes to healthcare, just to throw in our main topic again, or when it comes to guns or any type of regulation, you motherfuckers live out in the country. The rest of us live in cities. There are more of us than you. And the only reason you guys even win elections is because you either live in rural fucking states where nobody wants to be anyway, or because of gerrymandering and a lot of fucking money. Let's just be fucking honest. There are more of us than there are of you. And my point to that is, give us a fucking bone, because in this country, it is democracy. And in democracies, majorities fucking rule. And maybe the people in the city of Dallas, a highly populated city, do not want to be walking around among people that have guns on them, that want to make it into the Wild West, just because some people that live out in rural countries and can probably shoot in any direction and not fucking hit anybody think otherwise. This is bullshit. The regulations are bullshit. And I'm speaking straight from experience here. Arizona and here, even in somewhat liberal Colorado, they really do think you just cannot buy a gun in California. It just cannot happen. The rules are too strict. On what? Background checks? Because if you don't have a felony, you have nothing to worry about. And if you do you really think that felons should be carrying guns? Because now we're on a whole different topic here. Now, Mr. Right-wing Republican tough on crime is standing up for the rights of a felon. I've had that conversation too.
Right.
You have to fucking think about these things. And just to put fucking healthcare back in this motherfucker.
I was going back there. All right.
I'll hold off. You go.
Now, healthcare and climate change. I'm gonna stick them together here just for a second, because that's another one where climate change, people don't trust science. People don't trust the scientists. 99% of the scientists,
99% of them.
right? 99% of the scientists that have anything to say about climate change say that it's happening. The guy that the Koch brothers hired to deny it met with scientists and said, "Oh, you know what? Yeah, it's really happening, and yeah, man caused it.
We got this all wrong."
So that happened, and then you look at healthcare. Why do the Republicans not want the CBO to see their their budget until the very last second. Why do no economists get to look at this thing?
Yeah.
And then you sit there and you say, well, these are liberal elite economist bastard. No, these are the same people that got the same education as the people you voted for.
You know,
They're all educated the same way.
I heard
But when economists won't touch it, it's because it's a fucking time bomb and they don't want it to explode in their face.
I heard an interesting statistic last night. If you break down the 22, not 24 or 23 anymore, but 22, because they're making progress, million people that are going to get kicked off of healthcare, the tax breaks that are going to go to the top 1% amount to $27,000 per each of those 22 million people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what people still don't fucking get. Healthcare, the Affordable Care Act, and now the better care for whatever the fuck they're calling it now.
Trump care.
Yeah, fine. Trump care.
Label it with his name, because when it explodes,
It's
I
on
want
him.
the same thing to happen to him.
So with Obamacare and Trump care, it's more about taxes. It is more about the economy than it is about healthcare itself. And that's what people don't seem to fucking understand. They seriously think they're going to get better fucking care. Let me give you a fucking example. When it came to what happened today with my wife, the reason we're even doing this episode, the idea was, just because I, your primary physician, am not going to give you birth control because of my Catholic beliefs, superior beliefs, I may add, prevent me from being able to prescribe these to you, just because of that doesn't mean I'm denying you access.
Right.
That's what it is. They keep saying access. This will give more access to
that's
healthcare.
the key word through all the conversations.
Bernie Sanders during the hearings said, put it best. He says, we all have access to purchase one of Donald Trump's multi-million-dollar properties. That does not mean we have the fucking money to actually do it. That just means we have the right to, should we end up getting the means to make that happen.
Right, but again, that's the Republican Ayn Rand. We are all individuals, and we all have to make it on our own and become the greatest that we can become based on our own merits and blah blah blah. Never mind the fact that Daddy handed me all my money.
Yeah.
That's again, yeah, you're right on that. That's
well, and to kind of go off of that, what that sounds like to me, that type of rhetoric from Ayn Rand, echoed by Ron and Rand Paul. And the rest of the right is, they sound like liberals. And I'm going to sound like a Republican right now. You're not fucking special. None of us are. You are not fucking special, which means we do fucking need each other. And I mean, it's only in my head right now. That's why I'm going to say it. Not that I'm a huge Hillary Clinton supporter, but it takes a village. It takes all of us. That whole stronger together theme is in complete contrast than the Republican bullshit motto and way of life of, it's on me. I'm going to make this happen. I am self-made and I don't need anybody else, and I never have needed anybody else, and I am the only one responsible for my success. When Obama came out shortly after he was elected back in, this would have been 2009, and said, if you built a great business, you didn't do that by yourself. You had somebody else help you. Somebody else gave you a loan. Somebody gave you education. Somebody mentored you. Somebody made you believe that you can even make this happen. And Fox News and the right jumped all fucking over him. I mean, right. Trump thinks he's got it bad. They not only jumped on Obama for basically saying, for basically in that one little speech putting an end to capitalism in just a few sentences and sending everybody in our economy into a tailspin because he's a socialist Muslim dictator. But
right.
You come to me when Donald Trump is getting shit on for crying at a memorial for Sandy Hook fucking victims. Like they fucking did on Fox News. They were joking. He's standing at a podium and he's wiping tears away from his eyes as he's recounting what happened the day, standing up there with the fucking parents. And those motherfuckers had the balls to say, somebody should check underneath that podium and see if there's an onion down there. Fuck you. Fuck you and your bullshit patriotism and your bullshit trickle-down fucking economics. And keep your fucking religion out of my politics and out of my fucking healthcare, and keep your hand out of my fucking the female fucking vagina. I'm fucking sick of this shit. I'm finally starting to lose it. It took me a while. Whew.
That's
I took a nap today, and when I woke up, I didn't have as much of my energy wasn't fueled by as much anger as it was earlier.
well, in a way, while you were ranting, in a way, I was thinking that in a lot of cases, conservatives seem to be more snowflakey liberal than we are.
Oh, they
If you
were
think
all
of
over
if
the
you,
safe spaces until Hamilton read that shit to Mike Pence.
but,
Oh,
but
now
I'm
it's
not
all about that.
I'm not even talking about that. I'm like the whole gay cake case that's going before the Supreme Court. You know, uh, I feel like a true conservative would say, well,
That's money.
this person's business.
Yeah.
They should sell to the gay people.
The gay people are contributing
They're
to the local economy.
not even contributing to the local economy, but just as a good businessman, you want to sell to as many people as possible.
Right.
When's the last time you heard Amazon go, you know what? Nah, we don't need the gay money. No, they're not going to say that. They want everyone's money.
Yes.
They want the Eskimo money. They want
They want
it
that
all.
Oprah money. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if Emperor penguins in the Antarctic had money, they'd want it.
Exactly.
You know, it's bad business. And then you sit there and you I, it seems like in many ways they're far more sensitive. They're far more sensitive, and it does. And again, it's because of elitism. It's it seems like because they live in that kind of world where, and again, I'm talking to the blue collar people out there. I'm talking to you guys. Come on, you know, these people who come to your state fair in Iowa and sit there and they put on their clean barbecue apron and poke the meat on the grill with their tongs, and then they sit there and they eat it and they smile and they wave at you guys. They're not one of you. They're not trying they're pandering to you. They're not one of you. They're not going to be one of you, and you're not going to be one of them. They wouldn't want you as neighbors. They wouldn't.
Yeah.
You don't live their lifestyle, you don't understand their problems. Mitt Romney has an elevator for his cars. Do you have an elevator for yourself? No. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
it's
and the person that put that better than you and I can is what was George Carlin when he says there's a big club full of the elitists and the politicians and the lobbyists and the lawmakers and the decision makers and the movers and shakers. Is a big club, and you're not in it. They don't give a fuck about you. They don't care. Donald Trump does not care. Mitch McConnell does not care. And I know everybody said Hillary Clinton didn't care. I agree to some extent. Her history, her accomplishments, saying women's rights.
George didn't think Democrats or Republicans. He didn't think any politicians cared. And there's a large portion of what he's saying that I agree with.
What I'm getting at is there would have been people under the alternative administration that would have cared. You would have been better off. At the very least, our image would be better off.
At the absolute worst, with Hillary Clinton as president, we would have 8 more years of Republican obstructionism unless somehow, the Democrats won the House and the Senate back. But at the very worst, we would have 8 years of obstructionism. We wouldn't have as much embarrassment as we have now with Trump pushing a prime minister aside so he can get a photo op.
Yeah, Jesus.
Trump choosing to use an electric golf cart instead of walking. People refusing to shake his hand. People shaking his hand aggressively.
Having to hold hands while he walks downstairs because he's such a whiny, scared little bitch. We wouldn't have that. He makes us
There's
weak.
A theory on that he's afraid of stairs. So, but anyway, we are about to hit an hour and a half on this episode. So I think that we should probably wrap this up. Before we wrap it up, though, I am going to talk one more quick second about GoFundMe and Patreon. Please visit the Age of Reason podcast website. It's ageofreasonpodcast.com.
AOR podcast.
AORpodcast.com, excuse me. There you can find the links to our GoFundMe campaign and our Patreon campaign. We are just looking to get some new equipment. We're not trying to make any money off of this. We just want to make the experience better for you guys. We appreciate you listeners all the way down in Texas, all the way over there in
And
Tokyo,
all
and
the
even
new
yes, you, the new guy in Cleveland. We appreciate you guys, and we
Well,
really want to make this
all the
experience better
newcomers
for you.
we've gotten, all the new likes, and I was looking today from last week, the episode we posted last weekend. We got new listeners from new places, and we have new likes on Facebook. And I haven't looked at Twitter, so you can attest to whether or not there's
Yeah,
new
yeah, yeah.
followers.
Don't. I mean,
We,
let's not even get
hey,
into all that. But
thanks.
just follow us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter.
So
We put good stuff up on there. We care about you guys. We think about you guys. We would like you to to go ahead and follow us, like us, download us, listen to us, keep listening. And real quick, one last thing before we go. Our logo, we don't like our logo. We want to get a new logo.
yes, we do.
So we are begging listeners, please, if you have any artistic ability, or even if you don't, come up with a new logo, send it to us. We're going to look through all of the submissions, and we will send a prize. I believe it was
God is Not Great
by
the
Christopher
great
Hitchens.
Christopher Hitchens.
You will get a free copy of that. We will even throw a signature or something funny in it for you. But
we'll figure it out.
It will come to your front door, and you won't have to pay for nothing.
I'll personally sign it. I'll personally put an autograph and a thank you from the AOR team. So real quick, one more time, follow us on Twitter at AOR_podcast, the Age of Reason Facebook page on Facebook, and for everything else, AORpodcast.com. Thank you guys for your support, and thanks for hearing us out on this spontaneous episode. We will see you guys. We will return the week after this, so the weekend after the 4th of July, and we will talk to you then.